Standing proudly above the Vltava River, Prague Castle is not only the largest ancient castle complex in the world, but also the very heart of Czech history and identity. Founded in the late 9th century by Prince Vojtěch, it has served as the seat of power for kings, emperors, and presidents for more than 1100 years. The castle is not a single building, but an entire world of courtyards, palaces, gardens, and fortifications. Walking through its gates is like traveling through time, with every dynasty leaving behind its own architectural footprint, from Romanesque foundations to Gothic spires and Baroque facades. At the very center of this complex rises St. Vitus Cathedral, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture and the spiritual heart of the nation. Construction began in 1344 under Emperor Charles IV, who dreamed of creating a cathedral that would rival the greatest in Europe. It took nearly 6 centuries to complete, and the result is a soaring monument of faith, adorned with stained glass windows that bathe the interior in a kaleidoscope of color. Inside, the cathedral guards the tombs of saints, kings, and emperors, including the final resting place of Charles IV himself. St. Vitus also houses the Bohemian crown jewels, hidden in a secure chamber behind 7 locks. By tradition, 7 key holders, among them the president and the archbishop, must gather together to open it. A chilling legend surrounds the crown itself. It is said that any usurper who places it upon his head will be cursed to die within a year. This tale was given eerie weight during World War II, when Reinhard Heydrich, the Nazi governor of Bohemia, reportedly tried it on. Months later, he was assassinated in Prague in one of the boldest resistance missions of the war. The castle grounds have also been the stage for defining moments in European history. The defenestrations of Prague, when officials were thrown from castle windows, ignited conflicts that shaped the fate of the continent. Golden Lane, tucked along the inner wall, whispers stories of alchemists and guards, with tiny colorful houses that once sheltered writers and dreamers. Today, Prague Castle and St. Vitus Cathedral are more than monuments. They are living symbols of resilience and faith, standing watch over the city as they have for centuries. As the sun sets and the castle walls glow golden above the river, visitors are reminded that here, history and myth blend seamlessly, and the spirit of Prague comes alive. Stretching gracefully across the Vltava River, Charles Bridge is one of Prague's most enduring symbols and perhaps its most beloved landmark. With its cobblestone pathway and its 30 Baroque statues of saints, the bridge has witnessed centuries of triumphs, tragedies, and legends since its foundation in the 14th century. Construction began in 1357, under the reign of Emperor Charles IV, who wanted to replace an earlier bridge destroyed by floods. He chose July 9, at precisely 5:31 in the morning, as the moment to lay the foundation stone. This was no accident. Charles was a firm believer in numerology and astrology, and this exact time created the sequence 1357975531. He believed this magical alignment of numbers would ensure the bridge's strength and longevity. Whether coincidence or fate, the bridge has indeed endured for nearly 7 centuries, surviving floods, wars, and revolutions. As you walk across, the statues lining the balustrades tell stories of faith and legend. Perhaps the most famous is that of Saint John of Nepomuk, who was thrown from the bridge into the river in 1393 for refusing to betray the Queen's confessions. His statue is marked with a small bronze plaque that countless visitors touch, believing it brings good luck and a promise that they will one day return to Prague. Another myth claims that the bridge's stability comes from eggs mixed into the mortar. For centuries people debated whether this was true, and in recent studies, scientists actually found traces of organic materials in the construction, proving that the legend may hold some truth. Beyond the stories, Charles Bridge has played a vital role in the city's life. For centuries it was the only link between Prague's old town and the lesser town, serving as a trade route and later a stage for processions and battles. It was here that Swedish armies clashed with defenders during the 30 Years' War, leaving scars still visible in the tower gates. Today, the bridge is a lively promenade, alive with musicians, artists, and travelers from around the world. At sunrise, when the mist lingers over the river and the Gothic towers cast long shadows, the bridge feels almost timeless, as if you are walking in the footsteps of kings, saints, and legends. Charles Bridge is more than a crossing. It is the soul of Prague, uniting history, myth, and daily life in one unforgettable experience. In the very heart of Prague lies Old Town Square, a place where centuries of history, culture, and legend meet beneath the spires of Gothic and Baroque architecture. Surrounded by pastel-colored townhouses, cafes, and churches, the square has been the stage for markets, coronations, celebrations, and revolutions for over 800 years. The square first emerged in the 12th century as a bustling marketplace, connecting trade routes from across Europe. Merchants brought spices, silks, and precious goods here, and the lively square quickly became the center of Prague's civic life. Over time, grand buildings rose around it, each telling a different story. The Gothic towers of the Church of Our Lady before Tin dominate one side, their dark silhouette a striking contrast to the elegant Baroque facade of St. Nicholas Church. At the center stands the statue of Jan Hus, the Czech reformer whose burning at the stake in 1415 sparked religious wars and left a permanent mark on the nation's identity. The square has also borne witness to darker chapters of history. In 1621, after the Battle of White Mountain, 27 Czech leaders of the anti-Habsburg uprising were executed here. To this day, white crosses set into the pavement mark the spot, a quiet reminder of the sacrifices made for freedom. Yet, the most enchanting feature of Old Town Square is its astronomical clock, mounted on the Old Town Hall. Dating back to 1410, it is one of the oldest functioning astronomical clocks in the world. Every hour, crowds gather to watch its procession of the 12 apostles, while figures of vanity, greed, death, and lust move alongside them in a medieval morality play. Legends claim that the city council blinded the clockmaker after its completion so he could never replicate his masterpiece elsewhere. In revenge, he is said to have thrown himself into the gears, cursing the clock until it was restored centuries later. Despite its myths and tragedies, Old Town Square remains a place of life and celebration. Today, It hosts vibrant festivals, Christmas markets, and joyful gatherings beneath its historic facades. Whether in the glow of the morning sun or under the shimmer of night, the square embodies the timeless spirit of Prague, a meeting place of history, legend, and everyday magic. Mounted on the southern wall of Prague's old town hall, the astronomical clock, or Orloj, is one of the city's most treasured marvels and a symbol of medieval genius. First installed in 1410, it is the third oldest astronomical clock in the world and the oldest one still operating. For more than 6 centuries, it has captivated visitors with its intricate design, its hourly performance, and the myths that surround it. The clock is a masterpiece of engineering and artistry. Its dials not only tell the time, but also track the movements of the sun, moon, and zodiac constellations. In an age when astronomy and astrology were deeply entwined, this clock was both a scientific tool and a mystical symbol of the universe. At the top of each hour, a small spectacle unfolds as the 12 apostles parade past 2 tiny windows, while figures around the clock spring to life. A skeleton representing death rings a bell, vanity admires itself in a mirror, greed shakes a purse of gold, and a figure of lust or pleasure turns away in disapproval. The show ends with the crow of a golden rooster and the tolling of bells, a ritual that has delighted crowds for generations. But the Orloj is more than just mechanics, it is wrapped in legend. The most famous tale tells of Master Hunu, the clockmaker credited with perfecting the device. According to the story, city officials, fearing he might build an even greater clock elsewhere, had him blinded to ensure their Orloj remained unique. In despair, the master is said to have sabotaged the clock, throwing himself into its gears, and for years afterward it lay broken, cursed until it was carefully repaired. While historians debate the truth of this tale, the legend lingers, adding an air of mystery to the clock's legacy. The astronomical clock has stood through wars, fires, and occupations. During World War II, it was badly damaged when Old Town Hall was set ablaze, yet it was lovingly restored in the years that followed. Today, it continues to fascinate, drawing crowds every hour who gaze upward in wonder at the same moving figures that once enchanted medieval citizens centuries ago. To stand before the Orloj is to stand before a living symbol of Prague's endurance. It is more than a clock. It is a story carved in stone and brass, where science, faith, art, and myth come together in a timeless performance. At the heart of Prague's new town lies Wenceslas Square, a grand boulevard that has witnessed some of the most dramatic and defining moments in Czech history. Named after Saint Wenceslas, the patron saint of Bohemia, the square is not a traditional plaza but a long, elegant avenue stretching nearly 700 meters, lined with hotels, shops, cafes, and theaters. At first glance, it feels modern and bustling, but every stone and statue carries stories of courage, struggle, and national pride. The square was laid out in the 14th century by Emperor Charles IV as the city's horse market. Over time, it evolved into the cultural and political center of Prague. Today, at its upper end, the imposing National Museum stands as a symbol of knowledge and identity, its grand dome visible from afar. In front of it sits the equestrian statue of Saint Wenceslas, surrounded by 4 other Czech patron saints, a powerful reminder of the nation's spiritual roots. But Wenceslas Square is more than monuments, it is a stage for history. In 1918, it was here that Czechoslovakia was declared an independent state after the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1968, hundreds of thousands gathered to protest the Soviet invasion during the Prague Spring, demanding freedom and reform. Just a year later, the square became a place of mourning and defiance when student Jan Palic set himself on fire in protest against the crushing of those hopes. His sacrifice left a permanent scar on the national conscience. And in 1989, Wenceslas Square once again filled with citizens demanding change. The Velvet Revolution, which ended 4 decades of communist rule, was fueled by the voices and courage of the people gathered right here. Legends also whisper through the square. It is said that in times of great peril, Saint Wenceslas himself will awaken and ride out from beneath Mount Blanik with an army of knights to defend the Czech lands. For many, the equestrian statue at the head of the square serves as a reminder of that promise, a silent guardian watching over the nation in its moments of struggle. Today, Wenceslas Square is alive with daily life, from cafes spilling onto the sidewalks to seasonal markets that fill the avenue with light and music. It is a place where locals and travelers walk in the footsteps of generations who shaped the destiny of this city. To stand here is to feel the heartbeat of Prague, a square that is not only a space of commerce and leisure, but also a sacred ground of history, sacrifice, and enduring hope. Perched high on a rocky bluff above the Vltava River, Vyšehrad Fortress is one of Prague's most atmospheric landmarks, a place where history and legend intertwine. Though less crowded than Prague Castle, it is no less important, for Vyšehrad is often called the cradle of Czech history, said to be the first seat of the Přemyslid dynasty long before the rise of the great castle on the opposite bank. The origins of Vyšehrad reach back to the 10th century, when it grew into a fortified stronghold and royal residence. From here, Duke Vratislav II ruled as the first king of Bohemia. Over time, the fortress was expanded with massive stone walls, gates, and bastions, many of which still stand today. Walking along its ramparts offers some of the finest views in Prague, sweeping panoramas of the river, bridges, and the red rooftops of the old town. Yet Vyšehrad is not only about fortifications. At its heart stands the Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul, a striking neo-Gothic church whose twin spires dominate the skyline. Next to it lies the Vyšehrad Cemetery, the resting place of many of the Czech nation's greatest figures, composers like Antonín Dvořák and Vitus Smetana, writers, artists, and leaders, all honored here in a quiet garden of stone and memory. What makes Vyšehrad especially magical, however, are the myths. According to legend, it was here that Princess Liviu, the wise prophetess of the Přemyslid dynasty, proclaimed the future glory of Prague, foretelling a city whose fame would reach the stars. Another tale tells of the warrior maiden Rke, who tricked an army of men into defeat during the legendary Maiden's War, a myth that has inspired Czech literature for centuries. The fortress has also known moments of conflict and resilience. It was besieged and conquered many times, from medieval battles to the 30 Years' War, when it became part of Prague's defensive system. Despite this turbulent past, today Vyšehrad feels like a sanctuary, peaceful gardens, quiet paths, and echoes of history hidden within its walls. For visitors, Vyšehrad offers a different side of Prague, away from the bustle of the old town. It is a place to walk, to reflect, and to connect with the legends that shaped the nation. As the sun sets over the river and the city glows below, the fortress reminds us that Prague is not only a city of kings and cathedrals, but also of myths, memories, and timeless stories. Rising above the western side of Prague, Petřín Hill is a green oasis in the heart of the city, a place of gardens, winding paths, and sweeping views. For centuries it has been a retreat from the bustle of the streets below, a hillside where monks once tended vineyards and where generations of Prague's citizens have come to walk, reflect, and breathe in the beauty of their city. One of the hill's most striking features is the Petřín Lookout Tower, often called Prague's own Eiffel Tower. Built in 1891 for the Jubilee exhibition, it was inspired by the famous Paris landmark but is only a fraction of its size, standing 63 meters tall. Yet because it is perched on the hilltop, its viewing platform sits almost at the same elevation as the Eiffel Tower's second level. From here, visitors enjoy one of the most breathtaking panoramas of Prague: red rooftops, Gothic spires, and bridges stretching across the Vltava River, with the castle crowning the horizon. Petřín Hill is also home to stories and symbols of Prague's past. The Hunger Wall, a long stone fortification built in the 14th century under Emperor Charles IV, still runs along its slope. According to legend, the wall was not only a defense but also a way to provide work for the poor during a time of famine, hence its name. Centuries later, writers and poets would use the wall as a metaphor for struggle and endurance. Among the gardens and orchards, myths linger as well. The hill is linked to tales of magic and mystery, and some say it was once a gathering place for pagan rituals. The Mirror Maze, built beside the tower in the late 19th century, continues that playful spirit, reflecting visitors into endless patterns and illusions. Petřín is more than monuments. It is a place where lovers stroll under blossoming cherry trees, where children climb the tower with wide eyes, and where locals come to watch the sunset paint the city below. To stand on Petřín Hill is to see Prague not just as a historic capital, but as a living landscape, a city embraced by nature and touched by legend. Standing proudly on the banks of the Vltava River, the National Theatre is one of Prague's greatest cultural treasures and a symbol of the Czech nation's spirit. With its golden-crowned roof gleaming in the sunlight, it is not only a place for opera, ballet, and drama, but also a monument to national pride and resilience. The idea of the theatre was born in the 19th century, during a period of Czech national revival. At a time when Czech culture and language were overshadowed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the people dreamed of building a stage that would celebrate their identity. Citizens from all walks of life donated money to fund the project: nobles, merchants, farmers, and workers, making the National Theatre not the achievement of a king or an emperor, but the creation of the people themselves. When it finally opened in 1881, it was hailed as a triumph of unity and hope. But tragedy soon followed. Only months after its opening, a devastating fire swept through the building, destroying much of the structure and its lavish interior. The loss struck the nation deeply, yet instead of despair, the people responded with determination. Donations poured in once again, and within 2 years the theatre was rebuilt, stronger and more magnificent than before. Its reopening in 1883 became a powerful symbol of Czech perseverance. The National Theatre's walls are adorned with murals and sculptures celebrating Czech myths and legends. Figures from folklore watch over the entrance, while inside, paintings and gilded details immerse visitors in a world of art and storytelling. One of the most beloved features is the rooftop, where golden decorations shine at night, their reflection glittering across the river. It is said that when the theatre is illuminated, Prague itself seems to glow with pride. Over the years, the stage has hosted performances by some of the greatest Czech composers and artists. Antonín Dvořák, Vitus Cathedral, and Leo Janek all had their works brought to life here. The theatre became not just a place of art, but a guardian of the nation's cultural soul, surviving wars, political upheavals, and social change. Today, the National Theatre continues to inspire audiences from around the world. To watch a performance within its golden halls is to experience not only music and drama, but the living heartbeat of the Czech nation, a reminder that even through fire and struggle, culture and identity endure. At the edge of Prague's old town, beside the Powder Gate, stands one of the city's most dazzling gems of art and architecture, the Municipal House, or Obytný dom. With its sweeping curves, ornate facade, and golden mosaics, it is a masterpiece of Art Nouveau, and one of the finest examples of this style anywhere in Europe. More than a concert hall or civic building, it is a place where history, art, and national pride come together. The Municipal House was built between 1905 and 1912, during a time when Czech culture was flourishing. Designed by leading architects and decorated by some of the country's most celebrated artists, including Alphonse Mucha, it was conceived as a house for the people, a grand public palace that reflected a modern and confident Prague. Its exterior glitters with sculptures and reliefs, while the grand mosaic above the entrance, entitled Homage to Prague, celebrates the city itself. Inside, the building is a treasure trove of elegance. Marble staircases, stained glass windows, gilded chandeliers, and richly decorated halls lead to its crown jewel, Smetana Hall. This concert space, named after the great Czech composer Vitus Smetana, is one of the most beautiful in the world, renowned for its acoustics and crowned with a magnificent glass dome. Here, the Prague Symphony Orchestra and countless international performers have filled the air with music for more than a century. But beyond its beauty, the municipal house is also steeped in history. In 1918, it was within these walls that the proclamation of Czechoslovakia's independence was made, ending centuries of Habsburg rule and giving birth to a new nation. This moment forever linked the building with freedom and national identity. Legends and stories also surround its artistic details. Alphonse Mucha, the master of Art Nouveau, is said to have poured his spirit into the building's decoration, blending Czech folklore with his distinctive style. Walking through its salons, visitors can still feel the energy of a time when art was not only decoration, but also a declaration of identity. Today, the municipal house remains both a cultural and civic landmark. It is a place to hear a symphony, admire art, or simply stand in awe of its luminous beauty. At night, when its facade glows beneath the city lights, the municipal house reminds us of Prague's golden age, a city that dared to dream, and a people who found in art the language of freedom. High above Prague, just beyond the bustle of the castle, lies Strahov Monastery, a place of quiet reflection and timeless beauty. Founded in 1143 by the Premonstratensian order, the monastery has stood for nearly 9 centuries, surviving wars, fires, and political upheavals. Today it is best known for its magnificent library, one of the most beautiful in the world. But the entire complex tells a story of faith, resilience, and knowledge passed through the ages. The monastery's library is its crown jewel, divided into 2 grand halls. The theological hall, dating to the 17th century, is lined with thousands of ancient volumes, its vaulted ceiling painted with scenes celebrating the pursuit of wisdom. The larger philosophical hall, created in the 18th century, stretches with rows of oak bookcases, reaching up toward frescoes that depict the progress of human knowledge. Walking inside feels less like entering a library and more like stepping into a temple devoted to learning. Together, these halls hold over 200,000 volumes, including rare manuscripts, medieval maps, and early prints that trace the development of science, art, and philosophy. Stories and legends surround Strahov as well. During times of invasion, when armies threatened Prague, the monastery's treasures were often hidden away to protect them from destruction. In one tale, monks supposedly concealed rare manuscripts in underground passages, ensuring their survival through centuries of turmoil. During the communist era, the monastery was seized, and many feared its heritage would be lost forever, but the order returned after 1989, restoring both the monastery and its mission. Beyond the library, Strahov Monastery is home to the Basilica of the Assumption of Our Lady, a church whose Baroque interior glows with frescoes and gilded detail. The monastery also houses collections of art and curiosities, from natural history specimens to religious relics, continuing its tradition as a center of knowledge and culture. For visitors, Strahov offers more than history. From its terrace, the view stretches across Prague, a sweeping panorama of red rooftops, church towers, and the winding Vltava River. It is a place where the silence of the cloisters meets the endless energy of the city below, where centuries of faith and learning remain alive in wood, stone, and parchment. Strahov Monastery and its library stand as a reminder that knowledge itself is a treasure, one as enduring as the city of Prague. To walk its halls is to touch the wisdom of centuries, preserved by those who believed that ideas are as sacred as prayers.